Hello and welcome to Rough Cut Film. I've got a review of Cockneys versus Zombies. So this is actually the latest in a string of genre mashups, as you might call it, from the past few years. The most noticeable has been Cowboys versus Aliens, and that was a pretty poor film, and it's proved it's actually very difficult to get this right. The strapline for Cockneys versus Zombies is "The undead are brown bread." And either you're going to find that funny or you're not, and pretty much on the strength of that alone you'll know whether you're going to enjoy this film or not. So you don't really need a plot synopsis either, really. It is Cockneys versus Zombies. For what it's worth, there's a new building development going up in East London. It's going to displace an old people's home, so therefore the grandchildren of one of the residents of the old people's home decide, to do an armed robbery, as you do, to raise the money to save it. So the film is directed by Matthias Honey. I probably pronounced that wrong. His background, interestingly enough, is actually from car adverts, but he does an absolutely fine job. He's not great, but he's perfectly fine. In a lot of good zombie and actually bad zombie films as well, there tends to be a subtext, be it commercialism, racism, scientific research, whatever it might be. The subtext here is actually building developers are going into East London, bringing in yuppies, and that's bad because they're devaluing the sort of Cockney culture that's developed. So that stuff is very obviously going on behind the scenes. But it's a fun film. I get the idea that I'm seeing it from a different perspective to some people that might enjoy it. And if you watch, Guy Ritchie films, Snatch and Lock, Stock, you're probably enjoying different things about Cockneys versus Zombies than I am. But I have to say I did enjoy it. It features Alan Ford, speaking of which. He's a tough old East End pensioner, and he's really good fun, actually, as are the other pensioners he's with. They are entertaining. I mean, they're caricatures, but that's fine. It's Cockneys versus Zombies, so we're not too concerned about that. So Alan Ford is the guy that played Flat Top from Snatch. He's also actually in a bit part in The Long Good Friday as one of the more minor criminals. So when you watch a film like this, you're going to have to accept that maybe the plot, the script and the pacing are all a bit of a mess, but it might be good fun. They're not too bad here. They're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, the film has got problems, but overall I went along with it. I enjoyed myself. I did laugh. So there we go. My main concern really with this is, if you do a horror comedy, it's got to be both scary and funny, and if one of those things fail, well, the film doesn't necessarily work. This film, I think, at times the humour works well. I think it's charming. It's fine, and I could really see people going against this and disliking it. I didn't. I went with it. But the horror aspect isn't scary enough. So there's some quite good moments in there and a few little sort of jumps, but it's not actually scary. And because of all the bravado and this sort of we're Cockneys, the undead are brown bread, all this stuff, you don't get any sense of fear or anyone's afraid, and but then you get the sense of fun. So suddenly they've got samurai swords and machine guns, and there's a guy in a Zimmer frame firing an Uzi submachine gun at zombies and going, oh, pulling silly faces. So it's enjoyable. This sort of film, when you hear of the title, it's got a fantastic title, but you really expect the worst in terms of quality, and this is absolutely fine. So, as I say, the strapline is "The undead are brown bread." If you titter a little bit and think, well, that's kind of funny, you'll probably enjoy this. Whereas if you think, oh, that sounds stupid, which I can completely understand, you won't enjoy this. So there we are.